You are making a scene, and quite frankly, you're polluting the atmosphere of this institution." Adrienne Thorne, the manager of Crestview Private Banking, didn't just speak, she sneered. She stood in the center of the classic mahogany-paneled lobby, her eyes scanning Elena Vance with a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. Elena stood there, poised and silent, wearing a charcoal cashmere-tailored suit that cost more than Adrienne's annual salary, but to Adrienne, all she saw was an outsider who didn't belong in an establishment of this caliber. "I am simply waiting for my appointment with the board of directors," Elena said, her voice a calm, steady anchor in the rising storm of Adrienne's temper. "The board doesn't meet with people who walk in with fake checks and delusions of grandeur," Adrienne snapped. She looked toward the two security guards flanking the entrance. "Get her out. Now. Use force if you have to." Before Elena could respond, Adrienne stepped forward. In a fit of performative dominance for the other wealthy clients watching, Adrienne reached out and gripped Elena's upper arm. Her sharp, manicured nails bit into the charcoal cashmere fabric. With a violent jerk, she began dragging Elena toward the heavy, brass-reinforced glass doors. "Thank you for your love and support. It truly means a lot. If you enjoy our content, subscribing is a free and simple way to support us and help the channel grow. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments. Now let's get back to the story. You are trespassing." Adrienne screamed, her voice echoing off the Italian marble floors. "People like you think you can just sit in our leather chairs and pretend to be part of the 1%. Not on my watch." With a final shove, Elena was pushed onto the sidewalk. The glass doors hissed shut. Adrienne adjusted her silk scarf with a triumphant smirk. But what no one in that building knew was this: the woman she just insulted controlled every dollar in the vault. By morning, the entire branch would vanish without a word. The boardroom on the 47th floor of the parent holding company was all glass and silence, a cathedral of control. 12 executives sat around a polished table that reflected their ambition. At the head, Victoria Sloan, chairwoman of the banking empire, adjusted her papers like a judge preparing a verdict. Across from her sat Elena Vance, CEO of Vance Global, now calm and composed. She had built her firm from the ground up, one contract at a time. And today's meeting was the final stage of a multi-billion-dollar acquisition that could reshape the industry. But for Victoria, the deal wasn't business. It was theater, and she intended to humiliate her guest before the curtain closed. When Elena rose and extended her hand, Victoria leaned back, lips curling into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We don't shake hands with people like you," she said, her voice cutting through the glass and chrome like ice. The room froze. A few of the men exchanged nervous glances. One coughed into his fist. Another smirked. The moment stretched, painful and deliberate. Cameras from the investor livestream captured it all. The outstretched hand, the insult, the laughter that followed. Elena's hand remained steady for a heartbeat before she lowered it slowly. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was calculation. "Understood," she said softly, returning to her seat. Victoria smiled wider, savoring her small victory. "Now that we're clear on protocol," she said, "let's proceed." As the meeting continued, Victoria's tone sharpened with every slide, every number, every projection. She cut Elena off mid-sentence, corrected her analysts, and ridiculed her firm's valuation model as aspirational. The men chuckled, emboldened. It was the kind of corporate cruelty wrapped in civility, subtle, practiced, and suffocating. But Elena didn't raise her voice. She took notes. She watched every smirk. She memorized every face. When Victoria leaned forward and said, "You'll learn, Miss Vance, that this industry doesn't reward emotional ambition," Elena only nodded. Inside, though, something cold and surgical was already moving. At 3:17 p.m., during a short recess, Elena stepped into the hallway and dialed one number. Her voice was low, measured. "Execute Clause 8.3, effective immediately." There was no emotion, no explanation. When she re-entered the boardroom, the discussion resumed as if nothing had changed. Victoria barely glanced up. "Where were we?" she asked, pretending not to notice the tension in Elena's stillness. Elena met her gaze. "At the part where arrogance becomes expensive," she said quietly. Victoria frowned. "Excuse me?" Before Elena could answer, phones around the table began buzzing. One, then two, then all of them. Screens lit up with red alerts. The CFO's face turned pale as he scrolled through an email chain. "Chairwoman," he said, his voice cracking. "Our primary funding, it's gone. Vance Global has withdrawn all investment. The acquisition is dead. Effective immediately." The room erupted. Executives spoke over one another, disbelief clashing with panic. Victoria's confidence shattered like glass under pressure. She turned to Elena, eyes wide. "You can't." "I can," Elena said softly. Clause 8.3 was signed by your own legal team. It allows immediate withdrawal if any act of misconduct is documented during negotiations. And since my assault at your flagship branch this morning and this meeting were both recorded, her gaze shifted to the corner camera, you've provided all the documentation I need. Victoria's mouth opened, but no words came. Her face flushed red, then drained to white. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Yes," Elena replied. "I've protected my capital from contamination." The stock ticker on the wall began to tremble, numbers sliding downward in real time. Within minutes, headlines broke across financial networks. Vance Global withdraws billions. Crestview Industries in crisis. Victoria gripped the edge of the table. "We can fix this. We can renegotiate." Elena stood. "There's nothing to fix. This isn't a negotiation. It's a consequence." She gathered her portfolio. "For future reference," she said. "Respect is cheaper than recovery." Then she turned to the door. But before she left, she paused beside Victoria. Elena's voice dropped low enough for only her to hear. "You thought power meant control. It doesn't. Power means choice, and I just made mine." As Elena walked out, cameras caught the reflection of her calm face against the glass. Behind her, the empire unraveled. In the branch office below, Adrian Thorne watched in horror as federal liquidators entered the building. The Crestview letters were being pried off the marble walls. Every job in the building was erased. The markets plunged. By midnight, Victoria's face was all over the news. The woman who lost billions with a single sentence. Elena never gave an interview. She issued one short statement: "Partnerships end when respect does." Deepest. Subscribe today and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that expose arrogance and celebrate unstoppable dignity.
The next morning, the financial press called it the Handshake Collapse. Business schools dissected it for years. But in quiet boardrooms across the world, people replay that clip and whisper her name like a warning. Because sometimes power doesn't roar. Sometimes it simply stops shaking hands. If you believe respect can't be bought, prove it, like this video. Share it everywhere, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what moment hit you.